right.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to our regular meeting, July 29th, 2020. Got the pledge out of the way. Do we have any exonerations orders to combine, divide, defense? Good morning, ma'am. You guys know I always like to see it's people combining their own tracts of land on both of these. So I move that we approve the combined for David Hamilton and for Teddy and Karen Ryder.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I sign right here. I forget every time.
All right.
Personal property is on my. Yes, but I can, I should have reached.
There's only one
Okay.
substantial
I'll get on it.
quantity on here, and it was for Frank George. And it was an erroneous assessment. They issued a supplemental, and that was for 2,167. Well, actually, and then there were three for 661.76 for Debbie and Glenda Stone, or Debbie Holly and Glenda Stone, for erroneous assessments. Okay. I'll move that we approve these.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One more thing, the most important. So these are our pages for our land books. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start on this side. You have to sign the top. We'll get you to sign the middle or the bottom, and then you'll sign the last one. And there's several there.
Okay, I signed the second one.
Yeah.
There's 26, 28 here, something like that.
No, it's gonna be in.
These are the land books. I move that we approve these. See what we're currently doing them.
I need to sign the bottom of that. I didn't know that had to be approved.
Do they not? What are we signing to verify that? I think we need to make record that we agree to. Can I get a second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're signing something, we're approving something. I'm not sure what it is.
This is what it says. It says. You're pretty much approving the land books, which we always check them. Probably tomorrow. Yeah, that's right.
We make the record reflect my motion was to approve the land books.
That's it. All right, thank you.
Okay, we're looking at payroll.
Somebody motion it?
Sure, I'll move to approve second half of June payroll, 6:30.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We don't have the minutes. Do we have any state settlements?
Ooh.
You want to look through these things?
Yeah. I hate having 3 pages.
I move that we approve these state settlements.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The Drew Works State ABC letter for outdoor extension.
Okay, I saw Ken Lynch. Can you step up to the microphone? Correct me if I'm wrong, but is this for the new building that you guys have out there?
Correct.
Okay, so they, and I explained this to the other commissioners already, but Bridge Brew Works has erected another building out there, and by law, they have to come through us to get permission to serve alcohol there, right? Or get a letter to say that you're gonna serve alcohol.
Yes, the state ABCA requires that the county, since we're in the county and not in the city, to give us approval for the extension.
They're located at Wolf Creek Park, for the record. Okay, I move that we approve this.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's sign for you and get your copy. Got support letters for City of Mount Hope, right?
Yeah, and I feel like Andy Davis.
Hey, come on, baby. Good morning.
We are, NRGRDA is working alongside the West Virginia DEP to submit an application for the city of Mount Hope, with the city of Mount Hope, for the stream restoration of Dunley Creek. This was originally part of the voluntary floodplain buyout, or I should say coupled with the voluntary floodplain buyout, reestablishing natural flow. The project was engineered and it was supposed to be funded by the DEP's in lieu fee program. For one reason or another, that funding was pulled just in the last couple of years. So we wanted to see that project through. We've had a really good partnership so far, along with Region 4. And they will help with the administration of the grant if it's given. So we sought a letter of support from the county. This was a project that had previously been supported by the county, by the city, really by all parties that are currently involved too. Just seeking a different funding to have it move forward.
Do we have a draft letter? I move we approve the, and so this is for stream restoration.
A
So
second.
we have another. All those in favor?
Aye.
And then the sidewalk repair project, is that you too, or is that somebody else?
I wouldn't represent that one.
Yeah, it's just, they're applying for the small cities, one of the block
Small city
grants,
block
and
grant.
they just need a support letter. It's not asking for transportation alternatives grant. It's just a support letter saying y'all support them.
I move we approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your support on the Dunley Creek.
Thank you. See you, Andy.
Write my name at the same time, screwed it up too.
Andy's the one who drew that picture of the Fayette County scapegoat, or the mascot.
Andy must have been on the road early this morning.
You guys from Canard.
Okay, so the next support letter is the Bill Wells, the trail.
Hey, Bill,
I thought I
what's,
saw Bill
what's
there.
up? He is here. He's in the back. He's just hiding behind me.
Oh, okay.
If you're going to talk, you gotta come up here so people can hear you, please.
Yeah, they won't be able to hear you on Zoom.
I can't hear you standing there either, so don't be there.
So, yeah, we got a grant, the Mountain State Trail Alliance got $1 million grant back in 2017 in partnership with Region 4 and the Department of Highways. DOH was putting up a $300,000 match to secure the grant funds. For some reason, the state decided that the turnpike toll money that was going to fund the match couldn't be used for trail projects, and DOH pulled out and pulled their match money out. So we have replaced the match, and I think there were some discussions earlier, or there was at an earlier meeting, you all voted to approve a letter of commitment for the GIS, Jamie Smith, to contribute 80 hours of GIS work to help with the engineering and mapping for this trail project. And the grant is to extend the White Oak Rail Trail from its current end at Route 612 down to Glen Jean. It's 3 miles. And then there's some trail, more mountain bike trail work in Needles Eye Park and in the Wolf Creek Park to put connecting trails. So yeah, I'm here just to ask for ARC requires letters of commitment for anyone who's putting up match, and this would be an in-kind match.
Okay, well, I move we approve it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that work. Okay, Ruth.
Okay, the next is, it says support letter for suicide prevention signs on New River Gorge Bridge. Amy actually prepared a resolution. And I think she was here. Oh, there she is. Hello.
Come on down.
This is a good idea.
Thank you. My name's Stacy. I'm a hospice nurse. But on January 21st of last year, I saw a gentleman take his life and then lost someone else April 24th of that same year. So this is very important to me. I've spoke with Sheriff Fridley, the city council. I have met with them. I had sent a copy of an email, or in an email to you guys, of sort of what I was proposing to have these signs put up on both ends of the bridge, north and southbound, and then maybe in the middle of the bridge. So I am just here asking for your support before I move forward in going, to legislature and whatnot. I have spoke with a lady that is part of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and they have started helping support and provide funding for this type of thing, like starting in November. So I think that we, just as a community, I think that we need to support this so no more lives are lost. So that's why I'm here.
I agree. And a lot of people don't realize the number of suicides we have off of our bridge here.
Right.
We're kind of like the Golden Gate of the East.
Yeah, the gentleman that I saw, and Sheriff Fridley was there that day, he had actually driven 5 hours to come here. So
When I was mental hygiene commissioner, we had a few of those too.
yeah,
Mhm.
so, I think it's much needed. And then if the signs, maybe that's not going to stop anybody, but it may save one life. So,
If it saves one, I'll be worth it.
right.
You're right. I move we approve this.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Please come back and let us know if you can help.
I will. Thank you so much.
Possibly we can do them throughout the county too.
Yeah.
Once we see how they set there.
Ruth?
Next is an appointment to the Enact Community Action Board for Selena Vickers. I feel like you talked to her.
I didn't talk to her. She wanted to, she hadn't met me yet, even though I've worked with her husband for many years at the CAC. And Selena's very active in the community. I think she'll do a great job on this board, so I move that we approve this appointment.
A second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Okay, the next is the new mileage rate. So it looks like they raised the mileage rate because of the higher gas, and it's 62.5 cents per mile. And we typically match what the government's doing, so.
Right, so the federal government has raised the mileage rate, which is reimbursable mileage for government employees. We tend to match the feds. So I recommend we approve the mileage increase.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Building inspection agreement for the city of Oak Hill. They updated it. They had sent one and they updated it because I think, is it building codes that changed, Angela?
They will change.
Yeah, August 1st. If you have questions, Angela's your answer person.
I don't really, this is just where they reimburse us, right, or
Yeah, we'll be normally split.
the cost of building inspection.
should be sending you that.
Okay. I move we approve that.
Needs one signature.
A second.
All those in favor? Aye.
It's the last signature you'll see from Hannah. Now you'll
That's a
see,
stamp.
now you'll see Demita,
Who?
Demita Johnson. She's the
He's the city clerk.
new city manager. Is it still, her last name's still Johnson? Yeah.
All right, so the next thing are an engagement letter and a request for appraisal. The engagement letter for the CPA and request for an appraisal for the building y'all are looking at.
We are looking at another building in town, purchasing a building in town to house the probation office because the probation program is expanded substantially. They've added family court treatment program, drug court. Now they're going to have what's the probation officer for the school? Juvenile, kind of a juvenile probation officer. And then there's one other one. And I'm guessing at some point they'll probably even have a veterans court. But anyway, it's expanded so much that we just don't have the space to house everybody, which we're required to do. So we're gonna engage what is the CPA?
That's Fred, the one that's been in our county.
Okay, so those are two separate ones. So we'll start with the appraisal. Ruth was able to, she called 3 different appraisers and found one of them had appraised it before. So he gave us about a 50% discounted rate from the last appraisal because it was just appraised a year ago. So I move that we approve the request for appraisal and the funding. I think it's $1,700.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and the CPA, we're engaging him to do what?
Update some accounting stuff, capital assets, do the financial statements, and go through a training that has never been done since I've been here.
Well, I think it's a good idea. Move that we approve it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. It's one signature.
I did hear a little bit of bitterness in
More
your
like
statement.
honest.
Understood, Bill.
We have another support letter probably down at the bottom though. I don't know if anybody's here or the city of Anstead.
I'd like to wait on that one. 'Cause
Okay.
I want to talk to the mayor on a break.
All right, the national opioid litigation election, this is, Anthony reviewed it. It's basically agreeing to the settlement. Am I right, Anthony?
Yes.
Okay.
We already agreed to settle, so now we're just gonna, we have
Yeah.
a settlement, right?
I guess. Apparently you did it.
Did you end up having to do a deposition, Shane?
I was on my way down, the council said that they came to agreement.
Okay. Good.
Excuse me, just one signature on the paper, so.
So I move we approve the settlement for the national opioid litigation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Where do I sign it? By the by?
Yes.
That's how I'm gonna sign it. Since it's an island of its own.
All these forms are like that. Kathy, so.
No, I don't like that signature on them.
You
There's
can
no,
sign it.
right.
All right, so the next thing is the MOU with Workforce Investment Board Career Connections Youth Program. We had 2 people here that did this before. It's basically job shadowing, job training. So they just come here and work, and the workforce pays for all of it, and it gives them an opportunity to get experience.
I move we approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
This is about as clear as my too. Where you sign it.
Put this arrow on here for me.
It's either me or Wilbur.
It's funny because it's pointing diagonally to
Yeah.
the mess of lines.
So it's probably me.
Best we can. So budget statement,
Yep, you have it in your packet, the final and Joy finished.
is this just the budget revision?
It's, the budget statement has to be filed in the county clerk's office every year by code. It's what you've already approved.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, now you just sign and say that's what you intend to pay and all these people.
So I mean, we signed the budget statement.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The Humane Society lease, one of
Let's skip over that one.
the next one too. Then the Active West Virginia mini grant.
Is this the one that Melanie emailed us about that they want to put in for that small amount of money?
Yes,
Might
like
help the pool since they use the
$1,000,
pool.
We'll probably
You
go
guys
up to pool.
know what I'm talking about? We got an email on it. Active Southern West Virginia had the ability to apply for a grant in Abby's absence for, it's a nominal amount, but every little bit helps to help the pool because they do teach programming down there.
And she said it could be used for utilities, the pool, it can be used for whatever, so.
Okay, so they're asking for approval to apply on our behalf, or,
I think they've already applied, but yeah.
okay, so. next person. Maybe we approve that.
Second.
I guess you would be the contract person signature, that is literally all we have on that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Before, yeah, this is just our insurance renewal. It's a little bit better, I don't remember the exact amount, but it went down somewhat since last year.
It even went down last year too, didn't it?
Liability did. So it's just, it takes effect.
So I move we renew our policy with WB, which insures us for liability and
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, okay. The next one's just another standard. We send a list of board members to the Public Service Commission and Secretary of State. Is that
We
right?
already have all the appointments, right?
Yeah, y'all just have to send a letter.
Move we approve the letter.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll wait on the RFPs in case you
Yeah.
have questions.
Wait there. No.
Oh,
Does it say, what's it say?
you know, I changed the label, I have a feeling, yeah. Can you get Willie to print it? She'll change it and
I'll
print
get
it.
it.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, I don't think it does.
Just sign it and be done with it.
Yeah.
The next one is the HAVA grant. It's a labor sub-grant. It reimburses for election workers. This is the grant Michelle submitted to reimburse for all this payroll stuff.
Well, I move we approve it.
Second. This
All
is
those in favor?
18.
Yeah.
As long as they sign the one that says $9,300, there were two in the packet.
Well, they're, yeah, and they're sure it is this one, but it also might be separate.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
So,
And as president, you have to read all this.
yeah. All right, so you want me to wait or keep going?
Keep going.
All right, so the next one is our letter approving Fayette County depositories. It's required by state code to be done by June 30. Saying the banks we have, Deposit Swiss, Fayette County National, Truist, Chase, Pendleton, United Bank, and City National.
Move we approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Well, we can finish.
Yeah, we can show
You need to write dates on, didn't write dates on that.
That's fine. We got it. Okay, then the transfer orders.
I catch that all the time.
So these are the end of year transfer orders for general school, magistrate, and worthless check. They're transferred to the general fund to pay for services like not the schools. I think it's kind of about like fees and stuff.
It's about the
Anytime
court
you
date.
say something like that, then I'm like, what is happening? Do we need to skip this item?
No. It's just giving Tom a hard time. Because in all reality, it shouldn't be called general
Nope.
school fund because it has nothing to do with the school.
It's just a collection of.
So I move we
funds.
approve these transfer orders for the
Second.
3 funds. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then the other items.
You're gonna wait till 21.
Yeah, so let's get back to the regular agenda. ARPA funding.
Well, 2 minutes left.
And we're not really late because we usually roll through that exhibit a lot more slowly than we did. Okay, so,
It's all 3 of them. You have to sign off those. Did you sign off those? Is that just-
yeah, he did.
Okay, good.
He's fast. All right. County administrator tells us we have to spend some of the ARPA money by the end of the fiscal year, which is tomorrow, or allocated. Well, I know, so, well, we started, we asked for everybody to apply, we asked people to fill out applications, and we've been waiting for the comp plan to come in. That's really been what the holdup is. We wanted to see what the comp plan, how it would guide us on where we should spend the money and how we should allocate it. And the comp plan is delayed. So, I asked the other commissioners to come up with some projects that we might want to fund in intervening time for smaller amounts of money relative to the 8.1 million we received that we haven't allocated yet. And the projects that were proposed to me that slide in under the equal the amount that county administrator, she also gave us some projects to consider, were the funding request from the Anstead VFW for $10,000. The White Oak PSD for $114,000. Wait a minute, so that's just okay, let me back up just a second. So White Oak has asked for 80,000. I think we were going to allocate some more because we know of another project in the White Oak PSD that would help do some river cleanup. The Midland Trail Community Center had come in with a request of over, was it like $600,000 or something? Well, I did tell Lieutenant Mooney to give us his wish list or his dream sheet. $250,000 for Midland Trail Community Center. Falls View has an emergency shelter. And is it also a community center? Something at the old Falls View School down there requested.
And it's a voting location.
And a voting location, that's right,
Yeah.
polling location. So it had requested $6,000. And then we had a water upgrade project in the town of Pax. And the recommended amount or suggested amount, whoever put that one in, was $120,000. So the county administrator compiled these and they conveniently amount to the $500,000 that she needs to spend before tomorrow. So I move that we approve those requests as stated.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Michelle, you want that list? Yes, please. All right. And at this time, I think we ought to take about a 15-minute break.
Be fine.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. That's fine. We don't have to vote on it.
Thank you. Yes, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
You said two numbers for White Oak. You said 114,000, you said 80,000.
114 is what we allocated, 80 is what they requested.
Thank you. I'll do. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, I'm good. I say hi to Karen. Thank you.
What's up? Hang on. Okay. Good. Trying to find this speaker I have recorded words. He's passed away. Part of the reason I probably last. 90 years old, he was no longer as he was for well trained. Cal can't go. Yeah. Is lots of reputation. I have no idea. So,
Anytime I need to be
How are you?
Hey, I'm good, how's it going?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you?
Well, actually, I have another project. You're giving it back. It'll just be the 10. We only need 100. I think it's 110 something. So I can walk it back now. If you find out the amount, I want. Yeah, I sent my.
Did you type his name?
The veterans flag.
Did you type his name on the
Yes,
post?
yes. I'll find it.
If you type his name in that search class, it'll pull up every post with his name in it. Yeah.
I'll let you know the exact
So,
amount. Practice.
who's presenting the properties?
So, the house still, they're the ones who are doing like the. No, we have.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so we're reconvening our meeting, 9:50. And Ruth, we gotta get back to the exhibit list because our next item isn't until 10.
Okay, there's the support letter, the MOU. Oh, you were gonna ask, were you gonna talk to the mayor about that support letter?
I've already sent some text about that.
Okay.
So we can do that, and actually Angela told me that PACS, we allocated a little bit too much for PACS, so we'll walk that back before the end of the meeting and
Okay.
get that. All right, and address that. So,
So this is the letter, support for Anstead. You're good. You talked to the mayor.
well, I wanted to talk to him about something else that's not related, so we can go ahead
Okay.
and do that. For transportation alternatives,
Mhm. It's the trust, maybe?
what is it? A trestle, the train trestle?
Yeah.
The grant, Fox branch. The alternative grant, Fox branch trestle.
Yes. So this is.
Do we have the actual letter? Oh.
Yeah.
John's got
That's
it.
what This is just a support letter for the grant request. I move we approve.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye. The only thing we got now is 17, isn't it?
In the interview, but 17 is a RFP. So this looks like, is it just the logo, I mean?
Logo and the website design.
Yeah.
As a graphic designer. for the meeting.
So I had this put on here and I have not discussed it other than verbally, but you know, we got that mock-up, we received a mock-up of our website now that we have our government domain approved. And it was done by the people who administer our network. I don't like it. It was using the Wix internet app. my own efforts for my campaign actually looked better in my opinion, and I am no computer genius or graphics genius. I just don't think it looks like a typical government webpage, which would be okay if we weren't trying to attract businesses and show that we are a little more than a county of 40,000 people here. So I suggested, and I asked Amy to write up a request for proposals to get a logo designed, professionally designed for the county, and the website design to later be administered by the same people who administer our network. But I feel like we need to put our best face forward. And, you know, if you look at it now, it looks like it was invented when DOS was put out, or right after Windows or something. I mean, it's just so old and antiquated. I pulled it up for a friend of mine out of town. I said, see, you know, there were gasps all around. So, so this is just a request for proposal, no allocation of funds yet. And then we can see what kind of proposals we get. So, so that said, I move that we publish a request for proposal for logo and website design.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then what's the brownfields one?
Postponed for the next meeting because I'm waiting on WVU CAD to get back to me to make sure I'm on the right track with that RFP. So we can come back to that.
So let's go ahead and postpone that. And what's the next meeting date?
Saturday.
Until July 13th. So I'll go ahead and move we postpone even though it's on exhibit.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
7:13. Well, the way things are going for you, maybe not. All right, and we only have 5 minutes till the bids. It's my understanding we're going to need to get a little more legal advice on the letter to municipalities. We'll have to do that in executive session. So I don't want to start that now because by the time we get back, it'll be late. What was the Humane Society and we're working on edits.
Yeah, we probably need to go in executive session on that one to discuss the edits and track changes.
Okay, so just for the record, the lawyers for the county commission and the lawyer for the New River Humane Society have been working on, collaborating on the MOU.
So one of the issues that has come up and it's an issue that we've discussed is there was recently the sheriff brought to my attention that there was a refusal by the Humane Society to accept animals that were taken in by an animal control officer. Essentially what happened was a person said, I'm done with the animals, and called animal control. She was dying or died and said, I'm done with the animals. Animal control picked it up and took it to the Humane Society, and they said, we're not accepting these because I guess they have an owner stringer list, and it's the Humane Society's position that some people are trying to manipulate the list by, instead of waiting their turn, calling animal control directly and saying, take the animals. And so it creates a tension because animal control officers are there enforcing the law, and they don't have really, if they're there to enforce the law, and because the end result is the dogs, for lack of a better word, are therefore abandoned at that point. And it is then the law that the animals would be picked up by animal control and then taken to the shelter to be housed pursuant to the law. And it's not to defend the Humane Society. I understand their concern that people are trying to manipulate, circumvent the process, but our hands, the animal control officers' hands are tied at that point because they don't have an ability. I mean, dogs are abandoned.
Well, certainly in cases where they can't feed them or care for them.
Correct. Or they're
space,
leaving the state entirely. They're moving and they're leaving the state. I mean, and so hopefully, and we put provisions in the MOU that is, and that have not been that are still in the MOU, even with the changes, that the Humane Society will accept all animals brought to them by the animal control officer. Now, that would be in the MOU, that we want them to sign. They seem to indicate that they're willing to sign with some of the changes that we've discussed and we're going to executive session to discuss, but that's, you know, that highlights there still might be some tension even after the MOU that is likely gonna have to be worked out with the coming of minds. I mean, this is I again understand the Humane Society's frustration, but when animal control gets called, they gotta take the animal. And then it's the county's duty, statutory duty and obligation to house the animal.
It's just, Commissioner, this is a unique situation. This lady called, the animal control officer went to her house in Mount Hope. She told the animal control officer, said, I'm going to Florida right now. I'm dying of cancer. My husband's going with me. I'm not going to be coming back. My husband's not going to take care of his dog. There were 7 puppies, there were 7 small dogs. She did what she's supposed to, or he did what she's supposed to do. Call, what's your name, Brooke, or whoever down there, said, no, not accepting them, they got to be put on the list. Well, the lady says, I'm leaving. See you later. Well, the only thing we have the option to do then, take the dog and end up charging this person, but a neighbor stepped up and said, hey, I got her key. The next couple of days, I will feed and take care of this dog for them until you find out what's going on. They called me and I said, you know, this is what I deal with. But again, I addressed this to the commission many times. As the sheriff of the county, the assistant calls, who pays my salary, your salary, and all the employees here, says, I don't want this dog anymore because I can't afford it, or it did whatever. My health's not good. I think that's our responsibility to take that dog to the shelter. What, these people don't have the money right now, or whatever reason, like, don't even have to have a reason. They pay for the shelter. Take the dog and put them, because what's going to happen is this dog will be left out to go hungry, and then we're going to end up picking it up anyway, or take it somewhere and dispose of another way.
So we're working those types of
Right.
things out with the council
It's just-
for.
I just want to bring that one up to the commission because I'm still upset about it because this woman, she said, I'm dying and I'm not going over there. I don't have time. I want to go down and celebrate with my family. I won't be coming back. Can't take them. Okay.
Just one more thing, I know we're gonna go in executive session, just an open session, as part of the MOU is to get data, right? There's gonna be a vast amount of data collection that's gonna be required by the Humane Society to provide to us. And with the providing of that data, we can address these issues and determine, I mean, is it really, I mean, how often are people calling the animal control to jump to the surrender list? Is that like a one-time problem, or is it an everyday, you know, if we can collect data and then we can address it through subsequent policy changes and things like that, potentially, but as it stands right now, animal control has a dog that they impound, it's gotta go to the shelter. That's under the law, so.
All right, sounds good. Well, it's after 10, so we have, now I'm gonna note for the record that nobody coordinated this bid opening with the county commission before publishing a notice for it. And we need you to do that because we're lucky. We did have another issue that had been published and that we expected would be published and scheduled with us today at this very time for an annexation for municipality. So we have to know in advance if you want to be on our agenda and give you the date before you publish that something is going to happen this day. You don't get to decide when the commission is going to do something without coordinating with us because we, have other, people who go through the process properly and do that. So, but thankfully the Smithers annexation is not on the agenda today because city attorney was in trial at the time, wasn't able to do the publishing that he was going to do. So, so we went ahead and left it on for this time. Who has the bids? How many bids did we receive? Because Dan Hill walked one in this morning and handed it to Anthony. Was today the deadline or was the deadline prior to today? The deadline was yesterday? Okay, so then this bid would not qualify then.
Excuse me, Joe, but it says in your ad that bids will be opened on the 29th, and it does not give a final day to bring the bids in.
Okay, well, they might be a misprint. You can accept it. There was one or two in there that had a.
Here's the ad too, Anthony.
I just gave it to him.
Oh, this is what it looks like. All right. Is there a couple different ones or what do you mean?
Is that just different copies? Oh, wait, here's another one. Anthony, I gave you only that one sheet. That's just the affidavit.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just checking to see what the legal requirements are for Met to accept this bid brought in today. And you received the other ones in advance of today.
There's two separate bids. One is for here and one is for training.
There's.
Oh, so so I need to give him all.
There's 7 different.
Joe, was there a sign-in sheet for the people who came into the pre-bid meeting? And was it mandatory to be at the meeting in order to bid on the project?
No, it was not mandatory, and I was not at the previous meeting.
Well, this one has a deadline of the 22nd.
This
Looks like-
publication says that the propane training
Okay. So we're gonna have to go through them one at a time because it seems like they have different, we'll just have to see. I don't know what Dan was bidding on here the other time.
I found out just this morning that there's a bid company that picks up these bids and rewrites them, and apparently put the wrong dates
On all of the bids.
on the ones that the bid company picked up and advertised off of the site that they had.
So they
I was
basically,
told this by, guy that done pre-bid from, Mount Training Center, Mark Gray. Is how they got, this company picks up these bids and rewrites them, advertising, and puts them on their site, and these vendors pick these up. And apparently they put wrong dates on the one that the bid company did.
so when they rewrote it, the big company put the wrong dates on it. Okay. Well, one of the things, besides the scheduling matter that concerns me or that I wanted to address, how many of these are like critically time sensitive? That like, would we, if we postpone this whole thing for a couple of weeks, given and put another bid out, how time sensitive is it? I see some of the fire chiefs in the audience.
I'm not totally sure, but it's my understanding that the commission postponed these bids last year. And with the construction cost, materials, everything else is risen exorbitantly since then. Our main concern with the time frame is the longer we let the
More it's gonna cost.
obviously.
Did they? I don't remember it coming before us last year.
That's what I'm gonna try to find out.
I don't remember seeing this last year. I'm lucky I only have a year to remember stuff at this point.
3 of these ads have no deadline for the submission of bids. It says they'll be opened this morning at 10 a.m.
And this is for the concrete project. He did identify what it's for. Which one? That's the one that we're having a deadline issue on.
Well, there's demolition of an existing 20-foot by 75-foot concrete slab, sealed bids for paving at the training center located at 1301 Reason Trail, Gully Bridge. Turnout gear bid. Those 3, there's no deadline. says, it says the bids are going to be open this morning.
I don't think there's a permit here, do you?
No, definitely not from Dan. I mean, he says, so concrete project could be one of those two that doesn't have a deadline. But I don't know what the other, let's see what the others are.
Ones that do have deadlines. Fire hose testing. Propane training area. Paving, which we accepted for paving projects at the fire training center. Labor and material for erection of a 50-foot by 100-foot road. Those had deadlines to submit.
I'm gonna write received on his received. Because we won't know what's in it till we.
It was about 9:25.
29.
Yes.
What time?
9:25 is when it came in. I would suggest that on future bids, that you have a mandatory pre-bid meeting. If they don't come to the meeting, they don't get to bid the project itself. And that you have the day listed when all bids must be turned in by.
Well, you would have to put that in the advertisement too, though.
In the
I mean,
ad.
that's a process that
Yeah.
we'd have to comply with the code on. Put that requirement in there, pre-bid meeting, you would almost have to notice the pre-bid meeting too. You can't decide at the pre-bid meeting and the deadline.
That's what we did with Free Park on that one project. trail project.
There was a sign.
Yeah.
I was at the pre-bid meeting, but, on the bike rating, was the sign issue. I was there. I know he asked.
We'll probably need in the future too, Joe and y'all, we'll probably need a copy of it, just so we can make sure we're, including everybody who complied and not including someone who didn't. We've had some discussions. I know you guys are all aware, we've had some changes out at 911 with the new director coming in, and he's taken a hard look at the fire levy and some of the policies and procedures. And it's my opinion that we should set a special meeting to discuss those issues. So fire association, fire chiefs can all give input. The director could present his reasoning for some of the things that he's doing, and so we can get all the concerns like out on the table. And that includes, policies and procedures about pumper replacements and uniforms, stuff like that. Because ultimately, and I understand that it's been done differently all this time, but ultimately, county commission was supposed to be approving all these expenditures, anything over $15,000, because it's expenditure of taxpayer funds. So it has to be approved by elected officials and not, so the way it's been done in the past does not meet the code. And we are supposed to set the policy for how taxpayer dollars are spent. But we don't want to do that in a vacuum. We want to do it with your input. We want to understand like the considerations and what your concerns are. And I know time sensitivity is an issue. A lot of times there's a quick turnaround for stuff. And I think there are ways to work around that. We've empowered Ruth as our spending authority up to $15,000, for example, so she can authorize stuff like that, on the fly. And if we have policies in place, then everyone will know what's going to get approved and how to get it through and that sort of thing to keep it easy. So I want to suggest that we hold a special meeting and that we reserve this bid opening until that meeting. And we won't open them, but they will be valid, the ones that were turned in time. We can put another notice in the paper of when that meeting is. What is can we do that? We could probably, if we just renotice it, or what do we need to do?
The ads give the commission the right to all bids. So as far as I'm concerned, if you guys want to renotice it.
I'd like to get some of the policies hammered out before we start, because I know the 911 center director has some concerns. And I feel like we need to get some of these policies hammered out and review some of these expenditures before we
One other suggestion.
And I want them to be able to explain what these bids are for and that sort of thing.
One other suggestion I would make is if the ad says all the local packages must be marked sealed bid. That's it. It doesn't say what, in a situation where we're simultaneously advertising for seven different bids. You ought to put some kind of description on it.
Okay, what they're bidding on, and I think we also, for re-advertising, just need to let them know that we'll accept the ones we've already received. They don't have to rebid if we received it in response to this. That way, we're not putting anybody else through it. But the only reason I think we should re-advertise just because we have to, if we don't open it today, that's all. It's not to try to give somebody else an advantage or anything like that. Can you guys look at your calendars to see how much time do we need to advertise another bid opening?
Minimum of 2 weeks.
So today's the 29th. Is our next?
13th.
Right, yeah, so
Right.
as soon as they could be in effect, it would be next Thursday.
So we have the 13th is our next meeting. We want to do a special meeting.
Yeah, just for this.
Just for the
everything,
fire.
Just for everything.
Fire levy, fire chiefs. What about, would you be able to put something together in the next day or so if we set a meeting for maybe July 19th? Or the 20th? Commissioners? July 19th or 20th for a special meeting on fire levy, spending and policies and fire-related policies.
Both are open.
Probably 911 policies in general.
Both are open.
You have a preference?
I'm good. Let's see, I'm good either way.
Okay, so let's do it on the 20th, since we're used to having Wednesday meetings.
What time?
9?
Okay.
The 20th.
Say 8 o'clock in the morning.
Did not say 8, I said 9. He's making fun of me because I don't like pepper. All right, so I move that we postpone item 10,
Second.
or I mean 10 o'clock, 10:15, and 10:30. Well, are we ready with record rotation or do we need to? What do we have to do?
It wasn't a posting, I mean, it wasn't a publication, so it doesn't matter what time.
So it can wait. It's just the zoning for that tower. I don't know if it'll fill up. The zoning part of that tower.
No, I mean, we just need to get it, get it signed and get, if we can waive the public hearing fees.
Okay, so the tower site, we're ready to do
We're
that.
ready to go.
Okay, so we can do that one. What about record rotation? Are we ready for record rotation today? Okay, so I move that we postpone the bid opening, re-advertise the bid opening with the things we just specified. So include that the bid must be marked for the specific thing they're bidding on. I mean, we'll figure that out with the ones we already received. And also note that we will accept they don't have to resubmit bids if they've already submitted bids. And then mention the date we published those.
I would leave the sealed bids you receive sealed until the.
Oh, yes. Yes, we're leaving them sealed. Yeah, they're right. They're right here. In fact, I'll hand it back to the fire coordinator in the intervening time. And I did mark on Dan Hills what day we got it. So that's marked.
Can I ask a question? We're talking about
Did you say you did not receive any bids at all for hose testing?
There is a bid up there from, Brian Berger, that's supposed to be ladder testing, coach testing and stuff. I don't know what all is in it, but
The only problem we're running into is we're getting farther into the summer, we're getting close to school, and we have to do our testing at the Valley pre-K8, just due to the fact that we don't have space. We have to have at least a 300-foot wide, 50 feet wide, to get these guys in here, so they can test our hose rate. Last year, we tried to do it over in Montgomery, and it just wasn't a very good site. We just didn't have enough length to do what they wanted, and for them to get done in a timely manner. So, you know, like I said, we were 6 and 7 o'clock getting done. So usually if they can get it all laid out, we can get done between 4 and 5. And I don't know if that costs us any more, but
almost looks like we just have almost one bid per project, looking through here by what's on the outside of the envelopes. So if we address that on the 20th, that's going to be too late.
well, the only thing about it is we gotta give them notice so that they can get it. I mean, these guys travel all over the country. But we're gonna definitely need to have something done by the, I hate to say August 1st, but if we can get it done, especially in the valley, we get a little more leniency between the Golly. I think they can actually, don't they do it at Golly or at Oak Hills first? We did do testing.
We did behind Walmart.
Yeah, because like I said, we're also fighting the gateway center which we didn't have before. I mean, so there are a few obstacles, but for, you know, we can get them to move at least for a couple days where when school comes back, it's a lot full of cars.
Yeah, you're right.
So
Okay, so do we know when school starts? So is there only one company that does that stuff?
no, there are several companies, but you know, a lot of times you just have to get in contact with them to get their schedule. This is a requirement, you know, you have to do with aids. Our more stuff's pretty adamant about stuff. So.
Can they be tested? Do they have to be tested in that location? Can it be tested at the fire
That's
training
what
center or
we
somewhere
try
else?
everything. It's just,
It has to be paved area.
Paved area.
But the thing about it is, just I mean, I can block streets off, but it's just, I mean.
We've already got everything blocked off in Montgomery right now. I didn't even know the highway was blocked off. It was running cones yesterday.
Yeah, but Valley High School works for Valley Creek.
Yeah.
Part of the procedure is, it has to do with safety, because, extreme pressures, very much longer to test the hose. And, there's always a chance of rupture.
I see. Because of the pressure.
Mainly, safety concern, besides they do 300-foot lines. Is at, testing at the time. So you need that in the area, but then you also have to worry about, disruption or something like that.
Okay. I'm not sure how we would handle that. Since we don't really know who's bid for what, and we're not prepared to bid, you know, to open bids for everything today. I think we need to, I mean, we could change, well, we can't really change the date of the special meeting because of the publication requirements. We have to let people know when the bids are going to be open. It's so bureaucratic, and I know it's frustrating. It is for us too. I mean, we can't change our agenda after 3 days before a meeting. I mean, we can't add stuff, even though we often have the need to do that. But I still really would like to have a full hearing on all of these things that are fire related. Because I know, our new 911 director is a retired deputy chief of Baltimore. He has a lot of experience and is concerned about some things. And we've been concerned about some of the things for a while, making sure that we all comply with the statute. Nobody can look back, because I want the levy to be passed here. And if there's any suggestion that we're doing something wrong with taxpayer dollars, that could affect our ability to, get the public's confidence to pass it. So I definitely want to make sure we address everything and get everything straight. So we're checking all of our boxes to make sure we still get that funding. We can ask with confidence that the public vote for it.
Can we get a letter stating the topics that we're going to discuss, at least allow us to prepare?
Yes, what we'll do is we publish an agenda, but I will make sure that we get a copy of the agenda to the 911 center director, and that you guys, and they get sent out through the Fire Association email, so you guys all get a copy. And if you want to put specific things on this agenda, submit those to them. And because it's not just us driving it, you guys, if you have things you want to discuss, get that information to the 911 center director, fire coordinator, and they will get it on the agenda. We'll publish the agenda and put it all on there. But yes,
I'd like to be able to look at what's coming once we get to that point, and we're able to iron out what we need to do on that, then we can move.
Okay, Gary and
You
Joe.
all right with that, Steve?
I'm sure you guys have some questions that you'd like answered.
Yeah.
So it'd be a special meeting if y'all come up with the questions y'all want answered.
Yeah.
Along with
Yeah,
ours.
or things you want to address, and especially concerns about, like, is there a hole in one of our policies that we haven't seen that, that has a practical implication that we don't understand? Those are the kind of things that we want to do. Gary and Joe, can you guys start a dialogue with the fire chiefs about what needs to be on this agenda and get us, besides the bids, we need to get the bids published, but then get, we need, when do you want it, Amy or Ruth, a week in advance? Can you get it to us?
Yeah, at least
Yeah, so,
at the latest. we can do.
well, I don't think we need to notice exactly what we're going to discuss, right? I mean, you guys can just work that out. So we'll notice the meeting. If you guys can just work out what you're going to discuss in a group email or whatever, and figure out what needs to be on there, and that way everybody's on the same page.
Well, I've already done discussions with Gary for a couple hours.
Okay, good.
And we'll continue to do that from that.
Okay, good.
Obviously, I think we work out.
Well, at a minimum, let's do what Chief Iliagi asked and make sure they know what we want to discuss. And then if you guys want to add things, just for the sake of time budgeting, if you'll let give Gary a heads up, just so we know how much time to allocate for the meeting. So we don't schedule anything in the afternoon or anything like that if we need to go later in the day. So we want to get this hammered out. We want to get our policies. We did the record policy this way, and I think it's been working out. And we want to do that with our other 911 center policies as we go along, because we know we've been doing things a certain way a long time, but some of those things haven't been the most efficient, as we know, and some of them haven't been in compliance with the statute. So we just want to make sure that we're doing everything the way we're supposed to. Okay.
I do have one question. You said the commission postponed your bidding last year.
What I understand, what
I mean, I'm gonna try to find where we postponed it.
That's what I was told.
Okay, so
We were told we had to get on the agenda. And
Okay, I just wanted
to.
to, okay, I just want to clarify. You said we postponed it, and I wanted to make sure if we did, I want to look back and see what we did. I want to just clarify that.
I don't remember doing that.
Okay.
So I move that we postpone the 10 o'clock item and the pumper replacement item to the special meeting with regard to the fire levy and fire-related policies of the 911 center to July 20th at 9 a.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so zoning waiver for Harewood Tower. Who's going to present on that? Joe? What do we need to do for the zoning waiver?
Well, this all new to me, so you go ahead and gather through it. we need to get the site where the new tower is gonna be erected, zoned. And as soon as I get the map and the parcel for the application, I'd like to, if we have to have a hearing or if there is a fee, maybe get it waived. All the testing's done, and all we need to do is get the zoning taken care of, and we're ready to start erecting.
Okay.
So you're not prepared for it today, you just.
Well, all I got is fill the application out,
Okay,
and I just need to get a map, the site map parcel, so I'll ask on the application. Everything else is out at the center, I just got
okay.
to gather it up.
Angela's our zoning.
Okay. So what they're basically asking, they have an emergency tower that's doing Harewood, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
at the Harewood.
I didn't know anything.
Valley site.
Okay, so basically, whenever someone erects a tower, they don't get it rezoned, it's called a tower special use. You guys can, because it is your ordinance, you can waive the fees, waive the hearing, because it's not gonna be rezoned, it's just gonna be a special use, so that is at your guys' will and pleasure. The only thing I will say is towers also have to have a building permit. You guys can waive those fees. I would not suggest waiving the inspections, though. Just
No,
my suggestion.
not the inspection.
Right, so that's your guys',
We've done it before.
historically, you've done it, the 911 center, they did have to go through the hearing, but you guys waived all the fees, but it is your will and pleasure on if you want to waive everything or just the fees.
So what, what are we doing today? Are we
From what
granting
I
the
understand, like I
special
said,
use?
I'm just here, I'm believing that Joe is asking, are you asking for them to waive the hearing and the fees? That's up to.
Yes.
But does he have to file the application first or know the property, the parcel number and everything?
If you guys want to waive the hearing, I still would suggest there's some documents, and I gave him copies of what he has to have, like there's SHPO, there's some state stuff, a site plan. I would still suggest he file that, even if you guys want to wait, because the hearing would not be until August 1st, because we have to publicize it. So it would be August 1st. That is, like I said, your guys' will and pleasure.
So we're not ready to take action on today.
All he's asking is for a waiver for the fees, so they can go ahead and start. That's what they're asking for today. I was just brought in in case y'all had questions.
What's the, I know there's been some email going around about tower fee waivers in general. What's the history on that?
Historically, in the 911 tower that's at the 911 center, the commission at that time, they waived the fees, but they did make them go through the hearing. On broadband, you guys, Jeff Proctor had requested fee waivers, and I'm assuming according to the minutes, you guys waived all of the fees for those broadband towers for that application, that broadband grant. That's what historically you guys have done. But I think the 911 center is asking for a waiver of zoning.
Do you know what the fee amounts are?
So for a cell tower, there's a $2,000 application fee. There's a $500 administrative fee. And then building permit, it is 1% the cost of construction, 340 feet. Is that how tall? So historically, 5 years ago, it was about 200,000. So you're talking about probably gonna be $5,000 total between building permit fees and zoning fees. So just.
And the fees get paid to the commission?
Yeah, they go to the county clerk, but then it theoretically goes to you guys, yes.
My thoughts are, since it's an internal 911 issue, that I feel that 911 should not have to come to the commission to get, the towers erected.
So it would be 911 who would pay the fees in this case, or it would be the
Yes,
person?
it would be
who erected the
historically, it is the owner of the tower who pays the fees.
Yeah.
So we would own the tower.
So anytime that there's a 911 tower erected, there should not be a fee, but there should be inspections. There should not even be a meeting.
So the meeting is held through the Board of Zoning Appeals, just decide on those towers. But like I said, that is you guys can waive that.
Well, and some of the 911 center funding comes from grants. So what are the implications there, Ruth? I mean, when any of the.
So in our reality, we pay that fee fee, it'll write a check from the 911 fund to the general county fund.
But it's not, like, there's no way to transfer grant funds for the purchase of that fee.
That would probably be Kevin or Bill at question, I didn't do that.
Well, we're talking about one, but can we take a look at that for future tower? I mean, I know we're talking about one in Montgomery up on the mountain. Yes.
Joe, my understanding all this was already taken care of. When it's in there. We even had a meeting with John about it.
This is,
The funding
this
is already
is,
supposed to be
this is for the new tower, which is about 150, 200 feet from the old site, which is being, paid with a, tower assistance grant.
Okay, was the money here?
What is it?
Was the money already here for that tower?
You mean it's the grant money? There's
The
$600,000.
funding
There's $600,000 of grant money to erect this tower.
And you already had them on site, a meeting with them on site and everything.
That all testing has just been finished to make sure that
The drilling
the
test.
drilling tests and all that have just finished.
But there's, it's not ready to go, start the project or that.
Well, not till we get the zoning, done.
So your core tests are completed and your environmentals have been completed.
That's as far as I know.
Or for that.
So, well, I think we have two different issues. One is for the purpose of this site and one is for the purpose of future sites. So I'd just like to know the answer for the purpose of future sites. If we have any grant funding that would cover that reimbursement to the county. But for the purpose of this site, I think we ought to go ahead and waive the fees. That's my opinion.
Not, but I'm all for it.
Okay, so we need to, it's hearing, fees.
Yes, the only other thing you may want to waive on that site, and I don't have a set of plans, like I said, I was just here. Our ordinance says that when cell towers are built, you're supposed to allow for co-location, so you have AT&T, Sprint. So we don't have anything that stipulates emergency services. So if you guys are waiving, I would put that in the verbiage, because I'm assuming you guys aren't going to want US Cellular, AT&T on that tower. Or do you have any set of plans that says how that tower is built? Normally, when they build cell towers, it says whether it's a co-location. So that may be, if you don't have any plans to allow any other cell towers on that site, it should have been designed one way or the other, but I don't have a copy of the design.
Who owns the property where it's going? Is it individual, government?
Gully Code.
They lease it or give it?
Lease.
Is that not the agreement they signed? Didn't they sign?
Yeah, they signed the agreement for the.
Yeah.
For the extension.
Yeah.
That's what you signed last meeting.
I believe when we started the original towers, it was a caveat that anything else that was allowed on the tower could not interfere with the quality of reception.
But normally when they design towers, the engineer that designs it, either A, designs it for up to so many, our code says you have to design it up to 4 co-locations. But I don't know how this was designed, but if you guys are gonna waive that requirement that they don't have to allow a copy of the plans to know how it's designed.
I don't know why, I mean, as we try to expand broadband to that area, if it doesn't interfere, as he suggested, why we wouldn't allow.
It depends
service
on how it's
providers.
engineered.
Philip would be the one, I think, that needs to.
Is he out this week?
Some of your towers are engineered per antenna going on the the code part of the antenna. So
That would be maybe, I don't know how it was designed, if you guys ever had any.
So it's already been
Somebody
designed, right?
Text him and get him to get on Zoom, you know, so.
I just want to make sure all bases, because you do have cell companies out there that call every month.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to say, well, how come they want to kind of just
Right,
cover all bases? If you waive it, you may want to verbiage that way as well.
Well, if we waive it for a government purpose,
For
it's gonna be
emergency
different.
services, yeah.
Yeah, it's different than the private, that was my concern for the commercial towers, the general policy.
Yeah.
I don't wanna, depending on what it's for though, if we have a priority economic development area, it's different, but I guess it would just depend.
Yeah, I don't mind waiving all the fees and all this stuff, but I think the public does need to know where the tire's going and it's going in. some type of meeting. That's the way I feel about it. I mean, I don't mind waiving the fees and all that stuff.
So I'm gonna make the motion that we waive all related fees to the 911 towers. To this particular 911 tower. Then I'll speak to the others.
So I wanted to hear from Philip. Well, he's gonna tell us what's going in and about the design.
That would be my only.
With the fee, so if we act on the fee issue right
That would
now, it's not gonna affect any of that.
No, only thing that, like I said, you guys need to decide if you want them to have a hearing, which is gonna postpone.
Okay, so let's address the fees first. I second John's motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so in regard to the zoning hearing, is there a motion on the table?
Well, I don't mind not doing the zoning on this one, but I think that, I mean, the meeting, the public meeting,
Okay,
I don't mind, the zoning, but I think we ought to have a public hearing just so people, somebody knows that there's a tire going in and where it's going in. You know, that's the only thing, but I don't mind, changing the zoning and not having the hearing. I don't have a problem with that. It needs to be there.
Philip, on this tower, Harewood Tower site, I've got you on the record, you're on speaker. So we had a motion, we approved the motion to waive the fees. What are you guys seeking with regard to the zoning hearing and all that? You seeking that we waive the hearing or waive the notice requirement or what?
Right, the hearing and the notice requirement, I guess, but was Joe saying that he needed some dimensions of the property?
No, the tower, what it's designed, I think we talked about the
Oh,
tower.
the tower, whether it's being designed to accommodate any expansion by the public sector.
Yes, because that's kind of what the grant's based around. It's you offer broadband, public broadband, cellular, all that kind of stuff can be brought onto the site.
See cohabit.
Okay, and do we have provisions in there that they don't interfere, as long as they don't interfere with 911 communications?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's all part of the contract.
Okay, well, I'm asking because I don't know.
Okay.
A lot of people who are watching this might not know. Okay, so now, and your concern,
No,
is
I don't have a problem with not having a hearing and the rezoning. I don't have a problem bypassing all that. But for this one, but in the future, I'd just like to have a hearing so people know.
to make sure we plan to have hearings in the future.
Just a hearing.
This one
so
is owned
people
by a
knows
coal company.
that there's this is an old boat coal company. So property owners know that there's going to be a tire.
Was there in
That's my
Harewood
opinion.
that's now Smithers city limits, right? Is that where we're talking about? That's freaking me out every time I go in there and it has Smithers sign.
Now, if you waive the fees for this, now if you add others to the site, is that gonna waive their fees also?
They got to come before us the way this is worded. The way John, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I had concerns about waiving for private sector. Although there is a public interest in having some private sector down there because, and even like if our law enforcement, if our deputies try to use cell phones or our, fighters are trying to use their cell phones. So.
Television as well.
Yeah,
They
and.
don't want to hop on there.
Yep, probably so. Yeah, especially with the new station down there.
So does Philip know if the grant reimburses for the fees?
Do you know if the grant would reimburse for fees, Philip?
I'm really not sure. I got a copy of all that stuff here. If you guys want copies of that, I actually have all the PDCs here too that I'm looking at, which are basically like the drawings of the site, all the small details. We have copies of all that.
Okay, if you guys could make sure you file copies of any grant stuff with Ruth's office, so we can get them with the county clerk and make sure that everything's public record, that would be awesome.
I'd like copies of all the plans too.
John would like to see copies of plans also, Philip.
That might
please.
be in Kevin's draft.
Yeah, we got them here.
Okay, all right, so. But this is like right up on the mountain there, right? Are there any homes like really close? And there was another site right nearby, right? So it's.
It's about 150
It's
foot away.
actually right
The
beside
shipper
our
should
existing
cover
site. There's no holes around there.
Okay, so there's really, so your public hearing concerns are resolved, at least as far as that goes. Okay, so, do we have a motion to waive the?
I'll make the
public hearing
motion to waive the public hearing.
Requirement. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, is that everything y'all need? The fee waivers and the,
I would like to request, I don't know if this is still with Joe, we do need a copy, because need a copy of the SHPO, which is the State Historic Preservation.
here, I'm gonna put you on with Angela.
Okay.
So even though the county waived, we have to keep records for the FAA or whatever. I need a copy of the SHPO, which I'm pretty sure it's done, and the design of the tower. If I could have those two, and I need a copy of the contractor's license, the gentleman who'll be constructing it. So if you'll just email that to Ruth and she can forward it to me, that would be all that we would need for our records.
Okay, what do you mean by the SHPO?
It's the State Historic Preservation. Whoever did all your background work, you have to file that in order to build a tower in any part of West Virginia.
We have a new.
Oh, yeah, they're actually working on that now. That's not complete yet.
Right, so once it's complete, we do have to keep that on record. So if you'll just send it, it just needs to be done before you construct the tower.
Yeah, and don't worry about who within our front office. Send everything to Ruth and she will get it to whoever, she wants to have it, whether it's the county clerk or Angela or whoever, and that way we have it one central. Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. All right, so I got that one knocked out. Record rotation.
Okay, I worked with Gary on this. He brought me the information. He brought me information on all the records from January the 1st until June the 15th. And I went through each individual record report to pull out everything that I could. Gary's made the recommendation that we move the road to Laurel Creek Road in Fayetteville. And after going through all of the records, I agree with him on that. There was a lot of calls for a lot of the record services, and it all works out to the same. There was also some things that I found that I'm waiting on an answer for, that he's probably still waiting on an answer on, where we had a record that was never called out, but they had a canceled call. So I don't know if it's a glitch in the system or what's going on with that, because there were multiple of those. And I backed every single one of those out and made sure that everyone had a tight grouping of numbers, and it's going to be pretty fair. And Gary and I both agreed that in 90 days, we should go back and relook to make sure that it's fair for everyone there, and it'll be a living document and that we can make adjustments as necessary.
So we're gonna have a policy and there's gonna be a 90-day review on the policy. And I think we need to do that with just about every policy, and maybe not on the same exact schedule, but make sure that they're reviewed and updated for issues. So do we have a revised copy of the current policy? Do we even need to vote on that, or we're just going to discuss it here because
No, we've got to vote on it because we voted on the last one as being Route 60 as the dividing
Can
road.
we just amend it?
So we need to amend that.
vote to amend, drawing the line? Does anybody else want to speak? I see a couple record company owners here about moving the line to Laurel Creek from the bridge. Anybody object or have anything to say? Yes, sir.
I'm in the valley, maybe, and, they've heard me call them over there.
Excuse me, but could you come up here?
Two of us don't wear our hearing aids.
I'm in the valley. I don't know each other. There ain't a whole lot of calls down that way anyhow.
And who are you with, sir?
He's in the valley, A&E too.
Oh, A&E.
In the valley.
Right.
And I got people down that'll come over in my area already.
Gary, do you actually have those? Sorry to interrupt you. Do you have those reports with you?
So you have Kanawha County coming into Fayette, even though they're not on our.
They are 2-car wreck. And they all. Buses will get called. And it's kind of
Thanks, Gary.
conflict of interest. One of them gonna, I like him, I get along with him.
These on the fire department. I think it kind of helps them some.
Is there a statute that says they have to be on our list to, because I know this came up with another company that's mostly in Raleigh. Is all? Go
As far
ahead.
as I know, the towing guidelines, they have to be a Fayette County. But from what Kevin told me, such as Glenn's, he does own property in Fayette County, and I actually did see a record down at Fayette Auto Clinic the other day, and it was a record from Glenn's Towing, and he does own that building, so.
Well, and then private people can call whoever they want, right?
That's
So
correct.
this only addresses what goes through the 911 center and who gets called out through us, right?
That's correct. And so, yeah, private people can call who they want. But that wouldn't go through the 911 center. Well, they could be requested for the 911, if they want this particular service. And of course, AAA, Glenn's is the only AAA.
Okay, so there's that too. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But the
So-
thing is, Lynn's don't operate out of that building, Josh Davis does. He don't have insurance or nothing, he's not registered, the PSC doesn't have that lot listed as his storage lot. His storage lot's in Raleigh County.
I think the main thing for Glenn's is just as long as if he's servicing AAA or he's servicing private request, that's one thing, but if he doesn't have a business here,
Well, that's,
he wouldn't qualify, would he?
well, that's what we talked about before, and it's basically, are you willing to risk the possibility of getting sued? To knock him off the list, and that's. He's been on the list since almost like forever. So
Well, doesn't he also have a piece of equipment nobody else has or something that he can tow, like,
the large stuff.
large
That's not
stuff.
rotational thing.
see, that, I feel like there's a compelling public need, even if he doesn't have a business here. I see Sheriff nodding. To have him on the list. Can you think of a reason not to have him on the list, given those things?
Well, he doesn't meet your policy, though. He doesn't have a small record. And all he has is a rollback, but all his PSC stuff that he's through PSC is registered in Raleigh County. And according to your policy, it has to be registered. in Fayette
So he
County. Now,
he just needs to
does-
update his registration.
Well, he has to operate, but now for large records, they don't have to have no rotation, like Hutchins.
He's only
and
one.
Glenn. They're the only ones. They can, and Anthony, see, you use Anthony's out of Greenbrier County for Slow Mountain and all that. So the large records don't count. It's the smaller, medium duty down.
Small companies.
Well, the thing is, Glenn's has no small records that will meet the PSC guidelines. They're snatching records. So they won't meet the qualifications of what they need. And then they don't have their PSC. When you file PSC, you have to show your storage lot, you have to show everything. Well, they record where that facility is. Well, that's in Raleigh County.
So he's not registered properly.
No, he's not. He does
Okay.
not have a PSC.
So in that case, it sounds like the only exception for Glenn's is private request or the big record.
And he gets a lot. Glenn's gets a lot of private requests, AAA, and of course, the big records.
But he shouldn't be on the rotation because he's not registered properly.
My opinion, no.
Okay, all right, so does the current policy reflect that?
Current policy was.
The one we're about to talk,
Does not have his name in it.
okay, so we're redrawing the line and Glenn's has been removed from the rotation, but still using Glenn's upon request, AAA, and for the bigger jobs. Okay,
I got one question.
Commissioner Boyd says has a question.
Michael Taylor,
Me,
can you give your input on it?
okay, on what they want to talk about.
What they're talking.
I mean, the county commission can create a policy however you want to see fit. I don't think removing him off of the rotation list would pose specifically a problem, though. Off the cuff, they could come up with something, I mean, you know.
Okay, well, I want to discuss that and a couple other questions in special session because an argument did come into my mind just now while you were
Well, I mean,
talking.
you know, well, I mean, the interest would be, do they have an interest in, do they have a property interest in being on the list? If they do, then you have to give them due process, notice opportunity to stay on the list. You know, does the policy, I've not read the policy. The policy give a record an opportunity to challenge or be placed on the list? Is there like a complaint process or something? Like if I'm a record that, if I'm Glenn's and I got kicked off the list, can I, under the policy, challenge and say I meet the definition of, you know, it needs a review, if you will? Yeah, I don't know. Is there a grievance procedure, if you will, for somebody that's been taken off the list, or, you know, somebody that wants to be on the list that maybe there's a Fayette County, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure why, again, I have to read the policy, but my thought would be the policy would just define entities. In order to be on the rotation list, you must meet the following requirements, A, B, C, and D. And then there could be a determination by whoever enforces the policy as to who makes those decisions. If somebody has a dispute, they can bring it under some sort of process. Say, I meet the requirements because if they, you know, I meet A, B, and C, and D, therefore, you know, put me on the list, and you could have that dispute. But if they don't meet the policy that this commission is making, then I don't think I could foresee a legal challenge. You're not foreclosing them from operating in the county. They can still, because of all of the things that were said here. So I have to read the policy, but I'm not aware of anybody, I'm not aware of a legal challenge for updating a policy and somebody therefore then being excluded. Maybe they were excluded the whole time and the policy was not being enforced. I don't know, but if you amend the policy and somebody gets excluded under the policy, that I don't think that they have a legal challenge.
It's the only answer I needed.
I don't think, does that mean that they?
I just sent you a text.
Does that mean that somebody can't hire somebody and come up with one?
Like,
So that's the thing, removing somebody from, you're amending the policy. So like,
well,
if you amend the policy and you vote on the policy, and this policy has been noticed for publication, so this, they, you know.
and this is the second time it's been on.
So I think them being removed from the policy would, because it's a new policy, I mean, you're making a new policy, and therefore.
And maybe we should do a letter to Glenn's and explain why they're removed from the record rotation. Mike Fox, you want to
I
say?
just want to say that, you're not gonna get rich being on 911. That's not a black eye for Fayette County. But when I hop in my truck, and I make the investment, just like Chad does, just like this gentleman here does, just like he does. When you're out there on that road, you are a representative of Fayette County. I am in it to help people that come. I love helping people. You get somebody wrecked that don't know nothing about the area, they're totally lost what to do. I take pleasure in helping those type of people. And the last year, me and my dad towed together before he passed away. We towed 111 cars that we did not get paid for. The last full year we towed it. We crushed those cars, you get a little bit of that money back, but you don't get all your money back. What, you know, the policy, we just need to get a good policy in place and roll with it and deal with it as it goes.
Okay.
My only thing is that I mean, we're all Fayette County citizens, we're all paying taxes in Fayette County and everything. But if someone wrecks their car at Court Street Lights, they have to go all the way to Raleigh County and spend their money in Raleigh County.
Right.
To you know, do everything.
Michael.
That's my.
I assume the requirements to be on the list are non-discriminatory and blah, blah, blah.
Mike, it made sense what you said.
Yeah, you're updating the policy, and when government takes an action, sometimes there's winners and there's losers. And if it's a neutral policy, if it's a policy that's not arbitrary and capricious, the policy will be upheld. And if somebody is no longer, you know, don't meet the requirements anymore, then you realize it's like if they update licensing requirements, you know, if they change, if they change a licensing requirement and there's a period of time that you no longer meet the license requirement, you may not be grandfathered in. You may have to go and blah, blah, blah. So it's a policy of the county. It's being updated. I don't foresee a valid legal challenge. That does not mean that one may not come, but that's, you know, whatever the cost is to file a lawsuit these days.
Well, like you said, we're not
That's
keeping him out. We're not
Right, he's-
telling him
he's-
he can't get a small trucks or small
Correct.
wreckers. We're not telling him he can't do that. So,
Correct.
yeah.
And if he updates, if that entity comes in with compliance with the policy and they make a request to be on the list, and if they're within compliance of the policy, then they have to be put on the list, just like anybody else.
Right, and with regard to what's happening in Montgomery, I mean, I'm trying to think of a way we can mitigate that. I mean, do you think we need to send a letter to the other company and let them know they can only operate if by request or?
Yeah,
Or-
really, because it's happened more than one time. There's been several occasions.
Are they called?
I'll get a record call. They'll be on scene. It happened last week, County Holler. And I gotta be out of Fayette County to operate in Fayette County, so we're not calling, I can tell you that. Technically, I'm in the valley of Queen G now. And he said-
Right,
Yeah.
that's true.
I wonder.
Technically.
There's somebody else's, they have to have access to that.
Hey, A&E,
You know what I'm saying? It has to be so.
hey, I'd like to congratulate you. You had the most tows in the valley, just valley proper. And you was only unavailable one time. So good job.
I answered the phone.
Thank you.
I don't.
Now, if you look at overall tows for everything, for this 6 months, Chad's and Danny's and Prudence and B&M and Interstate and Glenn's and Bud Fox and DTE, everybody, you know, we had good calls. Like I said, I had to mark out a few of the cancellations. but-
That's always the thing that I never understood. You look at the roster, there'll be 5 records called out for the same call, and there'll be en route cancel, en route cancel, en route, and some of them get canceled without ever going en route. How's that happen?
Yeah, and then another thing too, some people get, or some of the deputies or police officers will say that, you know, they have arrived. So that counted as another tick against you on these reports, and I backed all those off too. So I tried to, Gary had a great idea about moving the road, and I says, whoa, let me take a look at these numbers. And after it did, everything balanced out. So it's a good move on that.
In this county. Okay, 1998, I started towing for the lines sales and service.
Yeah.
I've been around. I know what, throughout my experience with it, it's good. Of course, stuff has changed tremendously with the tourism and all this, and it's going to continue. But Lower Creek will even it out as far as call volume goes. The thing, we may have more area on our side of the river, basically, as it's always said, but we do not have the call volume over there to sustain what we have to put out for trucks, for insurance, for maintenance, for everything. We have a whole lot longer response time. I can get to the 911 center in 13 minutes. Driving normal in my pickup. Got caught by every red light. Didn't have to sit through a complete red light on 2 of the red lights. But it was 13 minutes, go down that lane, drive. No problem. Got a call yesterday. Okay. Cool street lights. I had to actually unload probably 14 tires off of my rollback. So I did that. Hollered at Danny. While I was doing that, she come out. We went to the red light, was there for like 12 minutes. And that was with me unloaded. But I got a call out at Ponderosa on Slow Mountain. Takes me 30-some minutes to get there. It's just the type of roads that we're on compared to being on this side of the river where you got 19 about the whole way. We're going out some roads that are 15, 20 mile an hour roads. Right. And they're rough. I think $120,000.
Well, and they're small too, depending on what you're going out there with.
Right, well, I mean, you know, my rollbacks.
I was gonna say, I got introduced to Kelly Mountain Road the other day by a deputy sheriff. We went from Thurman all the way to Rents. Because we
You
could
took,
turn around.
yeah, you took that, one at the hospital?
No, this one was a guy and girl run off the cliff.
Yeah.
Listen, I've got to keep us moving because we have a
Nobody's objecting to moving the line.
11 o'clock. Okay, so we're talking about moving the line, taking Glenn's off, because of non-compliance with PSC requirements, and I move that we accept those amendments as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And a 90-day revision.
And the 90, yes, with the
90
90-day
day.
review. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know about y'all, but this is an internal policy. I mean, as long as the policy's made, if you add or take somebody off, as long as they comply with the policy, I don't think we need to hear it up here. Change and make big changes to the policy that involve businesses, then probably we do, but.
And it will be a living document, so we can update it as necessary.
All right, you need a break.
Yes, please.
Okay. Let's see, Mike. Let's take a 7-minute break.
Yeah, be fine.
7 minutes.
Oh, it's a
7
30 minutes.
I do not-
Yes.
I need to speak in this direction,
Yeah, because that's the hear that can hear.
so you can hear what's going on.
Oh, he's taking Dan Hill's sign down there at Wolf Creek.
Where's it at?
On corner of 16 and Wolf Creek Road, right as you go out.
Is it one of his election signs?
Yeah, it's one of the big ones.
I'll
Well,
take,
that gives us an excuse to go out and have a beer, Michelle. Let's go out there and get that sign. I'll pull it up for you.
There you go.
either, yeah, I got my stitches out yesterday, so I can.
Okay, that break was a lot longer than we expected, but we had a swarm. Let's get on the Meadow River Trail.
Matt Ford is on there.
Matt's online. Matt,
Good morning.
good morning. What's up? Tell us what
So, sorry, go ahead. So what we have is the, an MM 109 encroachment permit with the West Virginia Department of Transportation Division of Highways that needs to be executed. We are working on sections of the trail that are going to require some alternate access. And I met with the DOH to look at some old county roads. And there is a county road that goes from Corliss Road down to the rail trail. And there's a portion that needs to be improved. Thankfully, most of the road was improved when some power line work was done. But there's a small section that needs to be improved that the construction contractor will take care of. They just need to get this encroachment permit. And since it's in Fayette County, it needed to be brought in front of the Fayette County Commission.
Okay, so what action do we need to take?
Need to approve applying for this permit and then sign as the applicant on the second page.
Okay, I move that we approve. Fine.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Matt, that was easy.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Matt. Finally, something I understand and.
Hey, what's
got
that
some
meeting
questions
next
on.
week?
We meet July 6th, don't we? The pre-bid?
July 6th, Matt?
That is the pre-bid meeting for the Russellville Bridge. So we'll meet at the Green or at the Meadow River Campground. They've are allowing us to meet there to discuss the replacement of the Russellville Bridge.
What happens?
So
if-
making progress there.
What happens at these pre-bid meetings?
Everybody comes in, they give them a scope of the work, and then the contractors ask questions. If they don't have any questions, then they're given, well, you're either sold a set of plans where you're given a set of plans, or a CD that has the plans on it. And then they generally give you 10 to 14 days to turn in your bid. And, you can ask questions up to a certain date.
Okay.
Amy and I will go down there because we neither one of us.
That's not
have seen it.
something that I think we need to, I mean, we don't need to see who's bidding. and
No, but I've been in, I was in Wolf Creek Parks.
Were you? Well, you're on the board.
Yeah,
That's a little
well,
different.
no, I wasn't on the board.
You were.
It was
All right.
it was a joke, but.
Okay, so we got that knocked out. At this point.
If you're going to be there, it would be a good day to see other trail progress, because you'll be right in the middle of where other work's been done. So you can see other portions of the trail if you want while you're there.
We'll go down there.
I do not know if I'm.
What day is it?
It's Wednesday, right?
6th.
Yeah.
Because I will not be here.
Fourth is Monday.
All right, so this time I'm gonna, just first I'll mention that it's my understanding the NRG-RDA item is being stricken or withdrawn from the agenda for today. So at this point, I'm going to move that we go into executive session to get legal advice on the Humane Society lease. And more so, I think the letter to municipalities regarding Humane Society contributions. And the third item was what? Do you remember, what was the third thing we were going to get advice on?
Voucher, or.
Oh, yeah.
Did you mention the vouchers and invoices?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the other
Those
one?
are the only three items.
I think so. Okay. Anyway, so I move that we go into executive session 11:27.
Second. Ruth, what time was that meeting on Wednesday?
12:27. Or
I'll have
11:27.
Yeah. That sounds right.
I'm just making a confusion.
I'm gonna go
Okay.
just because I've never even seen the trail, so.
On this comprehensive plan, like, so, are they, I know that, is this, you telling me this is all they presented on that plan, so I mean, if they, I know they gotta go in front of the zoning planning board first, but they really done nothing.
Well, I think they've done a lot of documents. We don't have all of them here.
That's just an overview, basically.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen the overview, that's what I was gonna say, but I mean,
NRG-RDA paid for it, but
but she was, Angie sent me some stuff, and it's like you click on exhibit 1 or whatever.
Well,
there's just nothing.
right now, not Jenna Grayson,
at 123, a lot longer than I thought. All right, so we're coming out of executive session. We discussed the MOU with the Humane Society and a letter to the municipalities, and some statutory implications with our council. He's going to recommend some changes, minor changes back to the Council for the Humane Society, and make a couple of minor changes in the letter to the municipalities. And then with those changes, though, we need to go ahead and then vote on the content of the MOU with the changes that we discussed in session. So I move that we approve the MOU with the substantive, well, there wasn't a lot of substance that we discussed in session, and present that, have our council present it to Council for Humane Society for its approval.
One second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And with regard to the letter to the municipalities, I move that we approve that letter. The only thing, there were going to be 2 additions. One was to ask for reimbursement based on numbers rather than just a simple allocation. And the other one was if a municipality does not want to reimburse, for it to designate who its animal control officer is, so we can provide that information to the sheriff and the 911 center. So I move that we approve that letter with those changes.
Second.
So Ruth can stamp for us. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then we also discussed the some of the fire levy expenditures, and we have some fire chiefs left here. What we've decided to do, because we want to postpone some of these to the July 20th meeting so we can discuss some of them because we have questions. But I need to know, I know we have fire chief that has an insurance payment due. Is there anything that you guys have due that's time sensitive that can't wait until the 20th? I know the insurance payment is one, right?
payment was overdue.
That was one of for Capital One. That was one of the ones that there were some questions on. Can you tell us what that training, like those expenses were for?
That's where we went to the fire department instructor conference in Indianapolis.
Okay, and there was a charge for a video, and then the rest was food expenses according
Video
to.
was training, video for fire training.
And is that something you got to take back or something you paid to watch as a group? So you purchased the video and now you have that at your fire department that you can use? Okay, and then.
Food purchases were for on the trip for the FBI.
And was it $60 a day or something per person, or was it just the meals, reimbursement for meals?
$54.
$60 a day is a per diem that they allow.
That
That's
this.
my expense for person since paying the meal is $60 a day.
Is that who is they who allocates? Because we have a per diem that the state authorizes that we pay.
If I'm not mistaken, Joe gets the per diem from state guidelines when it comes to mileage and.
It's the GSA.
Okay, the GSA schedule. Okay, all right, so we need the insurance, we need the Capital One. Is there anything else that's time sensitive?
There was a reimbursement for the regular reimbursement I had also.
Okay, but can that wait until July 20th?
Probably.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to?
No, what we talked about.
Yes, and that, we're gonna have that on, I talked to Gia, so he has his annual truck allotment payment from Montgomery Fire Department. That's $45,000, it's due August 1st. And Gia has the paperwork, she said, from Joe. So I just want to make sure it's on the next agenda so the check can get issued, so he's not late on.
Yeah, as long as she has the paperwork, she'll write the check.
Was there a question on the reimbursement?
Gary had some questions about some of the expenses that he's seeing through the fire levy. So I just want to I don't want to, since he's not here right now, and I want to have it all in the same meeting where we discuss that kind of stuff. So we can, like, for example, a fire department asked for a bunch of Class A uniforms and sewings and stuff like that for a bunch of members. And we don't have policies in place right now to make sure people are returning their uniforms when they don't work there anymore. Or is there a number of years they should serve before they get a dress uniform that costs that much money? That sort of thing is what he's asking about. So we just want to make sure that we get answers to some questions, because you may have a 20-year, firefighter that needs a new uniform. And I was telling, like, in the military, we'd have guys wearing their basic training issue, coats that were pulling at the button, to their retirement ceremony. And we want to make sure that they're serviceable uniforms if they were issued before, if they need new ones. But
We have a policy 5 years. If you've been 5 years, in other words, you have to be 23 years old. After, if you've been there when you're a junior, that's kind of the 23-year-old, you get a Class A uniform. Other than that, we do a Class B, which is a shirt.
yeah,
And those were put in the levy. The levy was first, that was an allowable expense, but those can get a little bit costly. And it does allow us to represent our fire departments.
no, I understand the importance. I mean, I wore a uniform for 7 years, but I just to make sure we have some policies in place. He's just looking to make sure we're saving money, that we're being responsible stewards of county taxpayer dollars, and it sounds like you are. We just need to make sure that there's some policies across the board for that sort of thing, and that we have your input about what those should be.
Yeah, can I make a statement to the county commission? I know he's not here to hear it, and 2 things. First thing is all we're hearing is the vote. He has yet to confront us, talk to us, and started policies, this and this and this. I don't know this guy. I know of him. He did come and talk to me one day. But one thing I'm afraid of, we have a program in this county that's second to none. We are the envy of many other counties that get a lot less money than we do.
Rodale Fire Department, you know where it's at? Okay, Rodale's just a little old, very, very, very small community. I get $65,000 a year from the levy. They get 140.
Wow.
And you talk about department,
Is Rodell like in Mesa, is it another county?
it's in Raleigh.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying in the Raleigh, there's some
remember
departments in
Rodale
Raleigh
Park.
County that end up getting anywhere from $400,000 and $500,000.
Well, here's the thing. So I know Gary had planned to go to the last fire association meeting, but he didn't because of the cost of gas and the location, since the next one is at the 911 center itself. So he was like, given what, you know, what the cost, because we pay for his gas. So
Okay.
he just said that Joe told him the next one is at 911, so he thought, well, I'll wait until next month so I can talk to everybody here and like spend the gas to go down. But also then this meeting on July 20th will air a lot of this out and start talking. But he was planning to go to the first fire association meeting after he started. Then he's like, well, diesel's over $6 a gallon right now, and I'm driving a county diesel fuel truck, so maybe I should just wait. And that was a decision he made on the fly, and you know. We have to give him.
Ask you one question personally, as the fire chief of the, as a member of fire service for the last 47 years. We have worked so very hard. We've been very successful. Please don't ask us to go backwards. We worked too long. I'm not gonna do that. And I'm not threatening, I'm not making a statement. It's just we work really hard. And
I don't know what go backwards means though.
I'm afraid you're gonna see.
Okay, that's the reason we're gonna have a hearing, so you guys, so everybody who wants to attend can attend, and he can make his recommendation. You'll have time behind the scenes to work together on things too.
Well, my question is he gonna do things? And then the fire coordinators, what's he gonna do?
Fire coordinator works for the chief of 911 center.
Right.
And so they're working together on these things. What he's doing is creating policy to create the accountability we need for the statutory to keep track of the expenses.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
I thought, you know, I'm just transparent.
And I'll tell you another problem we've had, and I'll just give you an example, and I'm sure there's a lot I don't know about it. So I'll just say, like, I'd like to be more educated on it during the next meeting, but we've had fire departments when 911 center will tone them for a certain type of call. And they're calling in and saying, don't tone us for this type of call because we don't respond to these. Well, if it's in your jurisdiction, we're probably going to tone you because liability then falls back on us if we have to retone and retone. So this is the kind of stuff. So if we say we're not going to go on a down tree call unless X, Y, and Z. Well, you know, our 911 dispatchers can't go out and send a drone over the tree and, you know, evaluate it.
We normally don't run trees down. You have state road crew that's supposed to do that. But the other night, we knew everybody was strapped and stressed. We cut 7.
We cut trees at every call.
Every other night we went out. We didn't even question.
Well, and that's the main thing for us is it's not, you know, who's in charge of this or who says what, it's liability. So if we tone, you know, an organization, whether it's a fire department or ambulance service or whatever, you know, and they don't respond, then we're going to tone the next in line or the next closest or whatever we're doing. And then if you choose not to respond to a certain call, then that's your choice. But then it's not on us that you made that choice if something is wrong. We don't have the expertise. Our dispatchers don't have the expertise to make that call, and we have to. Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that we're having to look at. It's not. I feel like I just urge you and ask you to be cooperative and educate him, because I told him when he came in, I said, this is a Baltimore, you know, we don't have those kind of resources. We don't have full-time firefighters here. We don't have a lot of the kinds of things that he's used to. And I said, we also have this clump of statutes in our state code that don't make all the sense in the world either. We have restrictions on things we can do and other stuff. So he's still learning that stuff, and hopefully Joe can help him get his head around some of it, and you guys too.
I think he should already face us, sit down and talk this over.
Well,
Dragging him down the road. He should come out and present himself. People want to know his name is.
Well, he was gonna go that one meeting and then he didn't because of the
Right.
gas costs, because he's like thinking in dollars right now, so. So I think he would apologize for that oversight.
If I take a job, I'm gonna present you who I am, what I'm gonna be here for, and I need your help, and you need mine. That's what it should be.
And that's the spirit, even if he didn't make it to that meeting, and the reason he didn't was legit. I have a text about diesel costs, and I said, sounds reasonable to me, because the next one was coming up in a month and it was gonna be at 911. So if you'll forgive him that oversight, I'm sure that he didn't mean it that way. Like, I mean, he really does wanna come and see everybody. He was just trying to save us a few bucks on gas.
On June 5th, my son got married in Myrtle Beach. 10 of my guys, including myself, were in the wedding, one way or the other. And we all took off to Myrtle Beach. I sent a memo to Joe, because I didn't know this guy, but he was in here. Didn't know, sent a memo to Joe saying, look, I mean, most of my guys are going to be gone. So I need 1610, which is Armstrong Creek, so boom. Just let them run all my calls. Because I don't know who I'm gonna get out. I had one driver. Well, I'm going to Edmond Beach, I get a text. Then I get a letter that was written from Tanya to dispatchers to discard all memos and anything, this is the way it'll be. Well, it just so happened, my biggest building in town gets a box alarm, and my department responded with one person in the hospital. Whenever we run to the hospital or any of these big buildings, I'm just giving you a little update. It's not just go in and shut the alarm off. We got to check the entire building. And when you're talking about several 100,000 square feet, it takes people. He wanted us to run box alarms by ourselves. I work there during the day, and how many I run by myself? I mean, I'm leaving and I'm going. So if I run into something, then I'm gonna wait to call somebody. It's not fair to say.
I think that would be worth a call to him.
I've already talked to him.
Oh, did you? Did
Yeah,
you,
I
did you get it resolved to your satisfaction?
Well, honestly, it's kind of like anyone here. I apologize, but I said, this was a very serious matter, and I felt like I automatically called my guys and said, I don't care what the animal says or not, run. That's my responsibility. That's my liability. As the fire chief in Montgomery, I can't do that. And that's what I need. Not that we're not trying to tell him how to do his job, but you really can't come in and tell us how to set our operations. Nobody knows about, come on down and let's try to do mine or do this. I've got 47 years and I'm still learning.
Was the concern that they didn't like the department you chose to respond, or what was the concern?
He says he wants to send on fires, the nearest 2 or 3 departments. The letter still hasn't been sent out.
But that was the nearest 2 or 3 departments, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they weren't dispatched. I had to have them dispatched just by calling and telling them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It delayed the response. Matter of fact, luckily it was a false alarm, and it was.
Yeah.
But I go to another building and I get burnt food all the time, or cabinets on fire, or a mattress on fire.
Yeah.
And when I get a situation like that, a high-rise building under just like 1720, it's 40 people.
Well, and you have several of those. So let's discuss this at the July 20th.
Yeah,
meeting and these sorts of things. No, I'm glad you.
Give you a little insight.
I'm glad you raised it. No, and that's the kind of insight we need, because we don't have that insight. We're just trying to figure out, because, he has his expertise. We also know there's constraints and experience on the ground here that, and he doesn't know the jurisdictions. He doesn't know any of that stuff, but he's an open-minded person, at least I think so. And
we both, and I'm not trying to, so far I get a little resistance, and that's twice already.
I feel like we can come up with something that will resolve our liability concerns and your liability concerns that will work.
Okay, let me tell you something you did. Love him, and we'll probably love him to death. But you brought a firefighter in here from the city of Baltimore, okay? And you got a bunch of hard-hit firefighters from West Virginia, saying he's hard at it.
Oh, he is.
And you're going to see, yes.
Oh, no, we
We can't
expected that.
do it Baltimore's way. I'd love to. We still have.
I feel like in some areas, we could tighten our belts a little bit.
Oh, I'm not arguing that a bit.
And, you know, some of the puffer replacements for, you know, small fire departments and, well, and here's one of the things that concern me, like, when you're done with the truck, you know, that needs to return to the county and be auctioned if it's above $1,000.
Trucks are fully paid by the county. Yeah, these trucks are paid by other entities. So city pays on mine, state pays on mine.
Who gets the money?
It goes to the payment of the next truck.
I mean,
Because we don't get a full load of
So
money.
that's something we don't know. So that's the kind of information we need is
See,
all.
that's what people don't understand.
well, see, I've asked a question about that.
Nobody
I
answers.
don't mean to interrupt you, but I was getting to this point. I've asked
a
a question about that for years. And it seems like nobody wants to give me financial information or even information on the trucks. Benny, you know I've talked to you about it before.
No, I told
You've been in here when I've talked about this
Yeah,
before.
but the money anything that we get goes back, see, we can't put money in our state.
If we don't know,
Yeah.
we just determine anything.
Yeah.
You have to know.
For something, the only place that we can legally put it is our levy account. And all that does is build up our cash to where we can borrow, you know, we spend it down till we get our reimbursement. But the state money has to stay,
Yeah.
you know, the only thing we can reimburse back is our workers' comp, because it's actually paid out, or issued refunds and things like that. But that's the only.
I know some of the state funding is allocated for materials or for uniforms or
No
for,
uniforms.
well,
I
maybe
can
not,
get you
maybe
a
not
list.
dress uniform, maybe not dress uniforms, but
Fire gear.
there you go, fire gear.
It would be helpful to know that stuff for the meeting on the 20th. I mean, just that kind of stuff, just so we can understand, you know, what.
Well, we've always used the state guidelines.
Who does set the guidelines for the levy? It doesn't spend our money on it.
It's in our contract.
Yeah, some of that, but some of the things like, you know, anything that's purchased with levy money that came from the county levy is county property. So when it's disposed of, it has to be accounted for in some way.
Well, you're talking about retiring equipment.
Yeah.
Okay, usually what it is if we retire equipment, the money that comes in goes in to replace what we're retiring.
So what does the other municipalities and entities that pay this, I mean, and you sell some of this equipment, the money just goes back into purchasing another piece of equipment?
A replacement.
Yeah, but see, on a proper replacement, I just bought one, it was $519, which is dirt cheap right now, because you can get it for less than $7. I know it sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but it's the entire industry. Baltimore City's engine, just like I bought, will cost $700,000, because they do a different type of manufacturing. It's called fully extruded. We don't do a fully extruded, because, you know, we try to be as at least prudent as we can. I've been like 25, 30 years or so.
In the fire service for 50-some years. I've been here since the day one of the days. Our first fire trucks that we bought cost us $50,000. The last fire truck that we bought at Armstrong Creek in 2011 cost $300,000.
State 5 foot.
And they're every year. And if we sold a truck, a levy truck, the money went right back and paid on the next.
Well, like another thing we saw, just for example, that, you know, we've had to address is that with the fire training center, it's just a statute. They were writing 3 checks to keep the amounts under the bid amount instead of.
So you don't bid over to it yet.
Right, and so, I mean, just stuff like that. So we're just trying to kind of make sure and that we're
It's
looking
not
at.
legal on one item, but if you buy 3, it is. And I was told that by a lawyer in fire service. If you buy, so if you want to go out and buy a set of helmets, a set of coats, a set of pants, you can actually, as long as they're all under $15,000, you can make 3 separate purchases.
But 3 sections of roadways might be a little different.
That's different. That's all I'm saying. It's gotta be set up and all that.
Yeah.
The main thing you gotta do is go by the law.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the
Go by
thing,
the law, you will be all right.
and
if
we
you don't go
haven't.
by the law, it's when you need to bring it to the.
And we haven't been in full compliance on some things, and I think it's out of ignorance.
I agree with
And-
that 100%.
And so that's kind of the purpose. And Gary is looking at statistics and response times and stuff like that, especially for ambulance, like, because we've had issues. And so we're looking at data, and we're making a lot of data, whether it's statute or numbers, making database decisions. But that's the reason we want to engage you. And he would have been at that meeting. I mean, then he decided last minute, he was planning to go, and he said, with the price of diesel, maybe I should just wait since the next one's at 911 and whatever.
Just like Armstrong Creek. Me and Shannon's been at it 50 years. We got one of the finest fire departments in this county. It's on Armstrong Creek. Y'all never been in our park.
Not as a
No, you haven't.
adult,
We have one of the top line fire departments.
but I used to go up that holler all the time because I lived in Medina.
But, we have our trucks there, how many times we passed the replacement side? And we got took care of it.
I need one more truck and I'm good for the rest of it.
Again, and this isn't specific to your fire department. These are things we're kind of seeing across the board, and we're looking, like I said, this one fire department, it's
We're audited every year.
6 Class A's
Yeah,
and
One thing that I will tell you, one thing that we promised the citizens of Fayette County, when we started the levy, that we want to give them and offer them the best fire protection levy. And that means equipment, people, you're not gonna find a better trade to kill. And, how many instructors do we have? 50, 60, you're gonna find the other county. I train, I got a stack of training that much that I'm teaching a class right now, which won't break. Every new firefighter that comes in, we took a county that had no fire protection in a lot of places. No fire protection, no insurance ratings, people couldn't get insurance on their home because there was no fire. Now, probably 95% of this county has a minimum of a 5 rating, which is a national average in the ISO classification. Some of them are even higher. The minimum in this county is 5. And that's a national average. Every county dropped last time. And that's through this levy. That's not that about. I went from a 5 to a 4, and I missed it that much to be a 3. I'm actually a 3. So, and we'll be there. But I mean, that's things we work towards. I'm not trying to keep your time.
no, I mean,
That's where being's talking about. If something happens to this levy, like you said, we got to follow on. If this levy don't pass, we'll go back.
that's the reason we're trying to be responsible stewards of the money. And there are a couple of areas where we can do better, and that's what we're trying to do. And we're trying to keep some stats on making sure we're, like, especially like I said, emergency services and stuff that we're able to respond to some things we haven't been able to respond to on the EMS side. But
let me ask you a question. I mean, I invite you to my department anytime you want to come down. I'm there 8 to 4 Monday.
I was in Montgomery
Friday.
twice in the past week, but I was at the ribbon cutting, and then I was at
I was actually going.
the day before that.
Vacation.
I was down there.
But you're welcome anytime. Just call me. I'll show you what, we can go over our operation, and I do it in layman's terms. I don't want to sit there in technical, get in depth, but I do encourage you to go to the training center if you have anything.
Well, Mike Gray has been on me about that, and I had to cancel once.
That is
I think-
absolutely, the training center is one of the items we lack for ISO points, is having our own training center. So that's a big plus if we can keep this up. Let me give you another thing just on the training center, and I'm bragging on this a little bit, but there's been you've seen it, there's a lot of money that's going there.
Well, that money in other counties goes to the fire departments and then they don't have anything to account for. And they're buying used fire trucks. I went in a fire station, had 20-year packs in the back of their fire station. These things are $7 grand a piece. I said, oh, I see you got new packs. He goes, oh, no, we just bought extra. I got my trucks full, but I don't have any extra. So we try to be as prudent as we can. And I'll be honest with you, we all watch out for each other. You know, we don't want to do anything stupid or crazy. I mean, we've had situations in the past where we've had a couple money issues. Thank God the justice system took care of that. And it happens in other states. It's easy to take money.
But I will
You'll
agree
catch it.
what you said, well, that there need to be someone to type that. I agree with you.
Not a question.
All right, well, let's move forward.
Thank you all for listening.
So, I move that we approve the budget with the exception of, the vouchers and invoices, yeah, with the exception of, the fire department expenditures, but add back in Armstrong Creek's, Capital One card and, the insurance, payment for Bill Bailey insurance. Is that it?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
The remaining fire, I move that we postpone the remaining fire levy related expenditures to the July 20 meeting at 9 a.m. Well, not the time, but to the July 20 meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that should conclude things for us. Am I missing anything?
I don't think so.
John?
We're not going to talk about this.
Not on the record, no.
Okay.
We're not done. Oh, yeah. That's right. I wrote myself a note. I should have checked this. So with regard to the, learned during the commercial break that PAX did not need the full 120,000 we allocated earlier. It needs 112,000. So I move we amend the amount we are allocating to PAX to 112,000, which leaves 8,000 that we have to allocate. I have a project that I'd like to suggest that's probably going to cost around 15,000, but I don't have the number yet. But I think we could go ahead and allocate part of it if we wanted to repaint the flagpole at the Veterans Memorial in Ansted, and it needs some work. Like at the top, it's got bolts that are sticking out that are fraying the flag. The bolts need to be sanded down too, but it's like, it's very high.
So
it would either be the town of Ansted. I would say probably best do it to the town of Ansted or to the VFW. VFW is responsible for maintaining it, but it obviously has no money. And if y'all walked in there, you'd be surprised all they asked for was $10,000. So I would say maybe to the town of Ansted. I would be more confident the town of Ansted would get that done. So I would say maybe I'll move that we allocate up to and no more than $15,000 and we'll for that, because that was the estimate that came in to get it done. And it may be far less. I mean, that was just kind of a
who the VFW or
to the town of Ansted, because I think Ansted it's in its jurisdiction, and the guys at the VFW, I mean, are mostly Vietnam veterans and don't use the internet, and you know, there are 2 Gulf War veterans, and I'm the oldest. There was one younger than me, but I'm 51. I know, right?
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that.
So is that a second?
Oh,
So
yeah,
I
it's a
move that we
second. I'm sorry,
allocate up to
second.
$15,000, but no more than $15,000 to repaint and sand the bolts at the top of the flagpole. Repaint the whole flagpole, sand the bolts at the top so the flag doesn't snag on it in the town of Ansted at the Veterans Memorial. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, so. Yeah, and they can reimburse us for whatever they don't need.
We're good, right?
I have one question. Okay,
I have
not in
2
here.
o'clock.
Huh?
I have 2 o'clock.
Then go ahead and do it.
Okay, call me later.
I'll call you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
See y'all.
Thanks.
Okay, motion adjourned.
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Whoever.
Yeah, it's kind of